I can move.
Almost ready.
All right. Randall, did we get you sound? You're able to talk with us? I wasn't sure if I heard your voice or not.
Okay, Miss Amy, we're now streaming live.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I can. All right. So it's 10:02. We are starting the public session of the OT Advisory Committee for June 18th. We are going to go ahead and move through to see our agenda, call to order, of course, and then we're going to move through our agenda. We're going to the public comments are as we go. Okay, so old business real quick is approval of minutes. They are in here. Okay, so these are what we did in the last time. We talked with, we had an NBCOT presentation. We talked about the email blast for a CE broker. We had a scope of practice question, jurisprudence update, a dry needling update that led into what's going to happen today or further information. OT compact meeting for LOTA with the national organization, announcement of leadership changes, and then of course an adjournment. So those are our minutes. Let's see. Last time I think we had an issue with who was present, so I just want to make sure we have everybody that is here today was here last time, just to make sure you're on there. Do I have any objections to anything on the minutes?
Amy, if I could, I would ask that we have been criticized by using the term jurisprudence by some judges who say jurisprudence is for judges, not for people. And so we're going to be changing those. If you could amend those minutes, and we'll change the lexicon to law and rules courses. Because they'll be applicable to the various licensing specialties. So I would ask if one of the members could make a motion to amend the minutes to say law and rules instead of jurisprudence, and use that language in the forthcoming meetings.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll motion for that.
Okay, Ingrid motions. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Brenda Martin seconds. All those, or any nays? Anybody opposed? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Passes.
I'll take care of that, Amy.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right, so we will item out of the way. Done with that one. So we will move on to some of our new business. I wanted to allow Randall offered, of course, has previously come with Craig Hidalgo, and they've spoken with us about dry needling. We did give the update last time that there was a committee formed for the national organization, AOTA, to sort of have a research development team to, work on AOTA's stance as far as dry needling. And we needed this, of course, to go forth to sort of ask some things of our board. So I invited Randall to come through because they did make a motion towards the national organization to accept. And I'm gonna hand him the floor and let him talk through it. I sent this to you guys ahead of time so that y'all could look through, and if you had any questions, what I saw so far was just that it was the things that we kind of agreed upon that needed to be in there, that it's not an entry-level skill and things like that. But okay, so I hand it over to you, Randall, to give us an update, please.
Yes, ma'am. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So we met 9 times, and we did a research study. We, of course, we did the science behind it. The science is there, but as far as research related to OT, since most OTs can't do it, there is no research specific to OT. And there are some articles related to PT and other disciplines. But after meeting those 9 times, we had people play devil's advocate. We answered all the questions. We put together a 25-page paper for the Representative Assembly recommending that we felt that this could be part of what an occupational therapist does. It was turned over to the Representative Assembly, and that task force that met and reviewed that paper, I'm not 100% sure that they read the entire thing, because some of the questions that they have, we feel like we answered in that paper. But they want to have an ethics person, and then they want to establish what the minimum guidelines would be for the AOTA for states to have for dry needling, minimal education requirements, that is. And then they wanted to have someone from the ethics committee on that task force. So I got an email after I spoke to Amy on Monday or Tuesday of this week from Debbie Anamy, who is the person who coordinated all this before from the AOTA. And they've asked that I be on the committee again moving forward for us to answer those interim questions, to revise our report to the AOTA so it can be submitted back to that task force, and then with their questions answered satisfactorily so that then they could vote for it. And that's where we stand right now.
So Randall, just to make sure I understand, your committee wrote a position paper, turned it over to the RA, or turned it over to a task force?
The email that I got from her, she said the group in the RA, or the task force in the RA that reviewed our paper, had these questions. And I sent those list of questions and our paper to Amy so that everyone could see what those were.
Right. And what they want is specific educational requirements and a view from an ethics person.
Yeah, they want an ethics person added to that committee. And then they wanted minimal education requirements. And then why was there a change of position from the previous time? And so they wanted us to continue that thing. I think a lot of those questions were answered. And had we don't have the opportunity to speak to the people that review it, because we're not supposed to try to sway their opinion. But they made a motion to have those questions answered directly and then have it resubmitted to them before they vote.
Okay. Thanks. Did you see, I mean, when I read this paper earlier, did I mute myself? No, okay. When I read this paper earlier, nothing in it seemed to contradict the advisory opinion that we as OTAC had put together. Did anybody else see anything that contradicted what we had put together?
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, it really sounds like it is right along the levels. I mean, I don't think we added an ethics thing, but I think that's certainly a good thing. I also I like that they're wanting to define minimal requirements for education for it to let a primary or a rookie clinician know you can't just go out and do this. You've got to have some things behind it to work for it. I do like also, Randall, that they're asking why do we want it changed, because that is important not only for OT, but also to explain to LSBME why is this important to us? Why do we care to change it? I know it's not moving as quickly as you guys want it to, because I mean, you are sitting on, bated breath, sitting on your hands, hoping that this will go through, because, you want your practice to develop more. And I completely get that. And I think I'm sure that's the way it is from top to bottom of the state. So I applaud your efforts and everything that you've done. And I'm glad you're on this committee to be able to give us even more of an update every time. Yes. It's wonderful. And we thank you for it. But you're right, Ingrid, I didn't necessarily see anything that was just out of hand as far as like something we didn't already say, oh no, we think it needs to a minimum require this. Mm-hmm. Does anybody else have any other opinions or thoughts about that?
Has the advisory opinion that we put together been put in front of the LSBME yet?
No, they because there was that main paper out there by AOTA from what year was that, Randall, where they said OTs don't do this and shouldn't do this.
I think it was 2017 or something like that, 2016, the last time the RA met.
Right.
Yeah. And the other thing they did state that this is not an entry level skill. And what I explained to them whenever we were going through this, I said, I had a phone call the other day and I told Amy about this from a guy in Monroe, Louisiana that did the same thing I did before they knew that this wasn't. And they went and got something that stamps them as certified in dry needling. They did the 54 hours of education. They did everything that I did. They passed everything, and it's hanging in his waiting room, and he's been doing it without a hitch. He's done the requirements and he's done what he's supposed to. But I'm not worried about guys like him and me. I'm worried about persons that are doing this without the proper education, because people get out of school and they do ultrasound and they haven't gone to a modalities course yet. And that's where I think this is an ethical concern, is because consumer protection is so important. And I don't want anybody who's not educated to do this. And I don't want anybody who doesn't have the proper permission and the proper stance to do this. And that's why I got involved in this task force and on this committee and came to y'all trying to be solution minded.
Right.
Randall, if I may issue a cautionary note, okay, I have no problem with what you have done and what you are considering and just stated, but understand that if there is ever a complaint to the board about this, you guys will be leading with your nose. I think you guys need to get some legal opinions. We don't practice law around here. We enforce laws and rules.
Yes, sir.
I think the key you guys need to understand is that with the AOTA having the official position that they have, you could be leading with your nose doing what you're doing. I understand, and that's why I've been supportive to try and get this changed, but I'm running against the roadblocks that the national organization has put up.
Yes, sir. I understand. And I am not advertising that I do this. Sometimes I do have physicians that say this is a friend of mine and they want me to do it, or I do friends and family, but I do not bill for this, nor do I advertise this in my practice, because when I found out that that was the stance, I did not want to be in violation of anything. I was just giving that phone call as an example of I'm sure if he called me and that's his opinion and that's what he's doing, that there's other persons out there doing it. I was just making that as an example. I didn't mean that I was trying to lead with my nose, because that's the last thing I want to do. I don't want to ever be in violation of anything that would put my license at jeopardy and my well-being.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted you to know that, and
Yes,
just a cautionary tale for those that are doing it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I understand. And that's what I told that gentleman exactly. I said, unless you have a complaint filed against you, no one will ever know. It's too hard to police. I said, but once you have that first complaint, that's when there's going to be problems.
Mhm.
And then I'm a hand therapist, and ASHT stance is that we can do it, but I'm also an occupational therapist first.
Yeah.
So Dr. Van, just to sort of kind of wrap up this situation, but so that Randall kind of knows, some advice for him moving forward. I mean, I know the original advice was, let's get this, hopefully we can get the national organization to change their stance on it. Again, there's this task force that was developed to give information to the RA. I mean, I assume that it would still be advisable, but that they continue down that road, getting all of that paperwork and everything sort of in order from the national organization. Is there any other advice that you kind of have for them before we try to put it through to the board to request this?
No. And I think Randall hit upon a very good point in his last statement. Should Randall get a complaint, Randall can say, as part of my hand therapy certification, I am able to do that. And that would come to this board, or this advisory committee, because we run all those potential disciplinary issues through the advisory committee. And then you could make a recommendation to the board that says, we do not think that this is a cause for discipline because he is a hand therapist who has had this training, and it's part of the hand therapy training and certification that he had.
Right. He
I
just
think-
has a lot of background things to
Right.
add to that in order
Right.
for it to not be a violation for us.
But I think that this committee would ultimately get that before it goes to the board. If there's a disciplinary accusation, that has to be addressed.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
Okay.
but again, I think for the rest of us, how we get this as part of whether it should be core competency, special training competency, or anything else, the first thing's got to happen is the AOTA's got to come off the dime and say it's something that y'all should be doing, and we can move on with that. And I'm going to do my best to expedite the change in the rules. But and the good news is, I will tell you that come January 1st, rulemaking will be a lot shorter again because of the law, House Bill 398 that we got passed, that we're going to be taking our rules to the Attorney General. And it's going to move much faster
Good.
and actually give
That's
better
great.
protection to all of us.
Great. Now, does it still have to go through all the public comment, et cetera?
Oh, yeah, but but it's still, because it's 2 passes through the OLRC, it knocks off 3.5 to 4 months.
Oh, wow.
That's amazing. That's wonderful.
That's starting July of this year or
No,
next?
January of
January, I'm sorry.
2022.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Hey, something's good gotta happen next year. We're due. Okay. So Randall, anybody else have any other questions for Randall? Because he's just with us for this small amount of time. I know he's got to get back to some clients.
Thank you, Randall, for all you're doing to promote this for OTs.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I appreciate y'all's giving me the opportunity to speak today, and I will try to keep y'all updated and communicate with Amy. And then I think Darby's going to take over when she's done with her thing. So I'll continue to communicate. So please share my information with whomever needs to speak to me.
100%. Thanks so much again, Randall. We appreciate you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I appreciate the time.
Bye. Okie dokie. So let me make sure we still have at least 5 members here, right? Yes. Okay. Because I know Kimberly had to step out for just a minute. I mean, her it's running, but she said she had to step out for just a few minutes. So just in case we get to some level of needing a motion. So I would like to now move into executive session. It's 10:19.
Okay, give with a motion that passes, we just need to give Alan a few seconds to change us over
Okay.
to the executive session rooms, and then
Okay.
we can move on.
So Amy, we're not going to do the other new business?
I'm sorry. I didn't explain this at the beginning because of all the tropical storms and then they're closing down at noon. We needed to move the confidential case up so that the licensing analysts and anybody else that needed to leave, if we were talking past that time, we needed to make sure that they were able to get out. It's just a small case we need to go through, and then you should be right after that. So I'm sorry, I have I need to make a motion for us to change the agenda in order to accommodate for an executive session right after the dry needling, and then move right back into the order of the agenda.
I motioned to move in or second it.
Okay. All right. Anybody have a issue with that? Nay. Okay. All right. So, so we're going to move into executive session. I will give a few minutes to Alan if that's okay. So executive session, I think I said 10:19 was when we wanted to start.
Okay, so what it's going to do is it's going to move everybody into a breakout room that is not going to be publicized on the live stream. So you could run your executive session. And then when we're done and ready to go back to public, we will move back into the public session.
Okay. Thank you.